Prepare yourself for a journey through some of the most intense, unpredictable, and downright deadly courtroom moments ever captured. These aren't scripted dramas or movie scenes. These are real-life confrontations, confessions, and consequences, where the stakes weren't just high, they were fatal. Welcome to a world where the line between justice and chaos blurs, and every gavel strike echoes with life-altering tension. It starts like any other day in court. Judges walk in, lawyers straighten their ties, the audience murmurs quietly. But inside certain courtrooms, beneath the surface of legal proceedings, pressure is building, sometimes silently, sometimes violently. And when it snaps, history is made. U.S. courtrooms have tight security, but even so, over 700 violent incidents are reported every year, ranging from outbursts to full-blown assaults. One of the most horrifying moments in courtroom history happened in 2005 in Atlanta, Georgia. A man named Brian Nichols, on trial for rape, somehow overpowered a deputy, took her gun, and murdered the presiding judge, a court reporter, and a sheriff's deputy, right inside the courthouse. Then he fled, leading to one of the largest manhunts in Georgia's history. It was a grim reminder. Even in the halls of justice, lives can be lost in an instant. Following the Nichols case, dozens of U.S. courthouses increased security measures, including bulletproof benches and biometric access for holding cells. Now, not all deadly courtroom moments involve violence. Some involve revelations so shocking. They kill reputations and sometimes freedom. Remember the case of Jodi Arias. In 2013, her trial for the murder of her boyfriend Travis Alexander became one of the most watched trials in American history. But what made it deadly wasn't just the crime, it was her cross-examination. As she detailed the killing in chillingly calm tones, stating she stabbed him 27 times, slit his throat, and shot him. Jurors were visibly disturbed. The prosecutor grilled her. She smiled. The world watched, horrified. By the time the trial ended, she had gone from soft-spoken photographer to one of the most notorious female killers of the decade. Or take Chris Watts, the Colorado father who tearfully begged the media for the return of his missing wife and daughters. But in court, during his confession, he admitted he'd killed all of them himself. The moment he described his daughter's final words, "Daddy, no!" an audible gasp came from the courtroom. Even hardened reporters wept. That moment didn't just end a case, it shattered the illusion of innocence forever. And then there's the deadly silence. The silence that fell over a Florida courtroom in 2011 when Casey Anthony was found not guilty of killing her 2-year-old daughter, Kaylee. The courtroom didn't explode with noise. It collapsed into stunned disbelief. That moment, it didn't involve yelling or violence, but it shook the American justice system to its core. Many still believe the wrong verdict was delivered. That moment became infamous not for what was said, but for what wasn't. The Casey Anthony trial led to a huge spike in public interest in true crime and courtroom TV, and eventually helped launch dozens of podcasts and docuseries across the U.S. And yet, for all the chaos, these moments aren't just entertainment, they're warnings. They show us what happens when law and emotion collide. When grief, rage, guilt, and injustice all walk into the same room wearing different faces. One of the most unforgettable recent cases was Nicholas Cruz, the Parkland school shooter. During sentencing, families of the victims confronted him face to face. One father called him pure evil. A mother sobbed while holding a photo of her daughter. And Cruz, he stared blankly. His lack of response was louder than any outburst. In that moment, justice felt inadequate. The pain in the room was too much for any verdict to soothe. In 1995, a courtroom in Houston, Texas, a father named George Grant is standing trial for a violent crime against a family member. Emotions run high. The victim's cousin is in the gallery. He's shaking, pale, silent, until suddenly he isn't. In a matter of seconds, he jumps the barrier, lunges at George, and punches him in the face. Screams fill the room. Security tackles him. The judge slams the gavel, yelling, "Order!" But there is no order, only rage, grief, and the kind of pain the justice system can't contain. This wasn't the only time emotions boiled over. In many cases, families sitting just feet away from the accused simply cannot stay silent, especially when the accused smirks, taunts, or shows no remorse. In one particularly haunting case from Detroit, A mother had just listened to the killer of her 3-year-old son receive a life sentence. As the sentence was read, the killer turned around and smiled. That smile, it broke her. In a blink, she rushed toward the defendant, restrained only by multiple deputies. Her cries echoed through the courtroom. "You monster!" Courtroom outbursts often lead to contempt charges, but they rarely result in serious legal consequences for grieving family members. Judges often show mercy, understanding that emotion sometimes overpowers control. But not all deadly moments come from the outside. Some happen when the accused themselves lose control. Take the chilling case of Rashid Davis in Nevada. Accused of a triple homicide, Davis stunned the court when, during testimony, he calmly admitted to the killings and then began laughing uncontrollably. What started as a confession turned into a terrifying breakdown. "I'd do it again," he said, rocking back and forth. The jury was visibly shaken. One woman had to excuse herself. Davis wasn't just confessing, he was taunting justice, daring the court to make him feel regret. And then there's the infamous case of Denver Fenton Allen, whose courtroom exchange with a Georgia judge went viral for all the wrong reasons. What began as a standard hearing spiraled into a 20-minute verbal war of insults, threats, and profanity. Allen accused the judge of corruption. The judge called Allen a threat to society. And at one point, Allen declared, "I'll cut your kids up." It was a verbal bloodbath. No one walked away from that exchange feeling victorious. It wasn't just chaos, it was a courtroom on fire. But sometimes, the violence is literal. So, what do all these courtroom moments have in common? Raw truth. In these rooms, there are no retakes, no rewrites, no second chances. Whether it's a father leaping across a bench, a killer confessing with a smile, or a judge breaking down mid-sentence, these moments are as real as it gets. They remind us that the courtroom isn't just a legal stage. It's an emotional battlefield, one where some fight for justice, some for redemption, and others for vengeance. And sometimes, the courtroom becomes the crime scene. If you're tired of seeing the censored, cut-down versions of these moments, join our Patreon at patreon.com/courtroomconsequences for unfiltered access to footage the networks won't show. Raw emotion, real reactions, no blurs, no bleeps, just the truth, exactly as it happened. Because justice isn't always clean. It's messy, unpredictable, and at times, deadly. And that's why we watch, not for the drama, but for the reminder that behind every case file, every defendant, every ruling, there are real lives on the line, real consequences, real courtroom chaos. And sometimes, that chaos echoes far beyond the courtroom walls.